Morning, everyone. It is a lovely Friday here in Hollywood. A little rainy, which is why the quality is kind of grainy here. It's just overcast and icky, but appropriate feeling or sensation or mood, atmosphere, thank you, of below the surface. So we are moving into chapter 8. We actually have, I believe, only a few chapters left. And chapter 8 is actually kind of a longer one. So let me jump in. Let me see if I can get it all in. And we'll go from there. So for those who have been following along, we're getting close to the end of this particular story that I penned at age 15. Again, my response to The Abyss, Leviathan, Deep Star 6, all those wonderful undersea movies from 1989. So here we go, Chapter 8. How you doing? Walter sat at Alyssa's side. Better, I guess. Alyssa smiled weakly. Good. When did Alan say you'd be up and at him? Walter took her hand into his. In about a day. Don't worry, I'll be okay. Alyssa watched him as he bowed his head and began to cry. I was afraid that I lost you for a minute there when it happened. He put his head on her chest and began to cry again. I love you, she whispered into his ear. He looked up and kissed her on the cheek. I love you too. How long do you have? Wait, oh, we're switching scenes. How long do you have, Wade? Laurie and the man she spoke to continued to search through the abandoned, rotting relic. I got 3 hours left on my readings. Wade looked up from a few things he'd been looking over. You? About the same. Let's go. Laurie went to the next door. She opened it, and what she saw would stick in her mind for as long as she lived. Oh my God! Jesus Christ! Wade! Laurie screamed and motioned for him to come over. Wade rushed to her side. Inside the next section of the submarine was a man. He sat in a chair at a control panel in what was obviously the control room. Laurie backed away slowly. Wade closed the door and pushed her to the other. They began to run as fast as possible. They were making good time for being underwater. They came to the entrance they had used to get in. Laurie turned and watched behind them. Wade began pushing on whatever had blocked their way out. What the hell was that? Laurie kept a close eye on the door from where they had just come. It must have been Johnson Lapier. Give me a hand here. Laurie left her watch post and began pushing on the so-called door. Finally, they pushed it open enough to squeeze through. Wade pushed Laurie through and then went through himself. His pack got caught on an edge of the rusted metal. Laurie finally realized that she was alone. She turned and saw Wade's desperate situation. Laurie! Wade pulled and pulled to get loose, but nothing worked. He looked back into the sub and screamed for his only companion, his only hope. In the doorway of the submarine to the very section that Wade was caught in stood the same man they had seen earlier. Laurie reached him in a few moments, and she began pulling his arm. Wade. Pull, Laurie! Wade looked back into the sub and saw the man still standing there. Pull, goddammit! Laurie gave it one last try, and he was pulled free. There was one problem that only Wade knew about. The sharp edge of the ancient metal had ripped a tiny hole into his suit. Water began to take over his precious air. I guess he probably would have exploded, right? The pressure of the water began to crunch in on his legs. He fell to his knees, the water becoming bloodier at the pass of each moment. Soon the water took over his whole suit, and his whole body exploded in the containment of the suit. Laurie again felt the loss of her co-worker. She turned and saw him on the ocean floor. Wade! She went back to him and turned him on his side. She took one look at the blood-stained glass and screamed. She began to go as fast as possible to the station and would arrive there in a few hours, if her air lasted that long. Lake sat at his window, watching the water, staring off into the distance, not really seeing anything. Walter came in behind him. Lake. Walter went to him and sat down beside his younger brother. Yeah? Lake turned to his role model. What's the matter? You've been like this since yesterday. What's wrong? Walter stared at him, waiting for an answer. I guess it's just James. I didn't think anything like that would happen down here. He turned his gazing eyes back to the water of their prison for a month. Yeah, well, none of us thought anything like that would happen. Walter stood up. You gonna be okay? Lake nodded his answer. Good, then be in a better mood. We don't need everyone else in a bad mood around here. I'll see you at dinner. Walter left his brother in silence. Come in. Come in, Walter. Anybody. Laurie's voice echoed off the walls of the control room. Hello. God damn it, Walter, come in. Walter heard her urgent voice even before he got to the control room. Laurie, what is it? He sat down and took control of the network of devices and controls. Her voice screamed back at him, "Walter, he's dead. Wade's dead. I'm running low on air and I can't see the lights very well. Calm down, Lori." Walter spoke loudly into the communicator. "How much air do you have?" Her voice again squealed out, "Not much. 15 minutes." Walter paid no mind to Alan as he entered the room. "What are your readings?" Walter could only hear her sobs. "What are they?" He called at her a little too loudly. "Half mile," Laurie's voice screamed back at him. "You've got enough air. We'll be waiting for you at the airlock. Keep moving. Don't give up. Out." Walter pushed Alan as he hurried to the Bay Area. Alan followed. On their way there, Lake was coming out from the sleeping quarters. He followed them. They entered into the Bay Area and scared Carrie half out of her wits. She was busy preparing a suit so she could go explore some more. Is this already? Is this already?" Walter pointed to the suit. Carrie nodded and backed away. Walter scrambled into the suit and motioned for the three to help him in. They did so, and he was soon into the water. He left the sight of the other three in a matter of seconds. Outside, below the surface of the airlock water, Walter left the safety of the station to search for his remaining underwater crew, Lori. He spotted her not 100 yards from the station. He hurried as fast as he could to her rescue. Lori collapsed into his arms, and he pushed her back up to a standing position. "How much air?" Walter shook her. She murmured, "A minute." "Let's go." Walter helped her to the station, not as quickly as before because of his new weight. 35 yards and 20 seconds of air. 30 yards, 15 seconds. Walter quickened his pace. 20 yards, 7 seconds. Faster and faster. 12 yards, 0 seconds. Clearly an Abyss reference here. Walter rushed up to the airlock as quickly as he could. Lori's eyes had closed and her mouth hung open. Alan grabbed Lori from the water and quickly took her mask off. He began to do CPR on her. Carrie and Lake watched helplessly. In the meanwhile, Walter had removed the suit and sat next to Lori. Alan pressed her chest and then breathed his own life in hopes of giving her life again. He did it over and over. Finally, after they had almost given up, Lori spat up saliva. She coughed and spat over to the side. She looked from person to person, wondering what had gone on. She remembered where she was and began to cry. "Take her to the lab." Walter looked to Alan and pointed to Lori. "Oh, we're almost there." Alan nodded and motioned for Lake and Carrie to help him take her to medical. They disappeared through the doorway, and Walter stared down at the water. "Jesus Christ," he murmured as he rose to go check on Alyssa. Something caught his eye from under the water. He stopped and turned back to it to investigate. He waited for a few minutes, and nothing emerged. Walter sighed and left the room, unaware that his sighting would mean his and his crew's life. He didn't see it, though. The Bay Area was empty, quiet. The suit that Lori had almost lost her life in lay on the floor. It was now lifeless, with no one in it. A figure emerged from the water. It wore a similar outfit, same shape, color, and design. The only person wearing that suit, and was in the water with Lori, was Wade. This wasn't Wade. Ooh, creepy. So that is chapter 8. I got all the way through it, so this might be a little bit of a longer video. So tomorrow we will continue with chapter 9. Like I said, I think there's 2 or 3 chapters left, so we are coming up on, like 10 pages left of this tale that I wrote at age 15. Isn't it exciting? So return back tomorrow, subscribe below if you are interested, and you can go back and look at all the other previous videos, including everything from below the surface that has led up to this exciting chapter. So I will close with the usual quadruple S. Stay safe, stay secure, stay smart, and stay well stocked. Until tomorrow, when we go back below the surface, have a good one, guys. Bye.